Now, speaking of reach and awareness, this links in nicely to email. And look, it's been around since the 1970s, but it's still probably the single best way to communicate with your clients and prospects. Because if you have their email address, you've got access to their inbox, which is much more direct than social. But do remember, it's all about permission-based email marketing. So you need to get the permission to email them. And that might be because they're a client of yours, or maybe you've gathered the email because they signed up to a newsletter, or they filled out a contact form, or they've even signed up to an event that you've hosted. And when you have that list of emails, don't just keep them as an amorphous sort of database. Really think about the different groups that would sort of naturally form in your list and start to segment them in a way that's going to make sense to you. So some easy divisions or segments could be clients and prospects. Maybe some are zero clients versus non-zero clients. They could be by vertical. So some might be in construction, others might be agricultural. So the idea behind segmentation is that by segmenting them, you can start to think about sending them relevant email communications. So obviously it's great to send a general newsletter once a month, general news updates that would be interesting to everyone. But there are going to be times where you think, okay, I've got a specific piece of information and it's only going to be relevant to a small segment of my list. And therefore, I don't want to send this to the rest of my list because it's going to be useless. An example of this might be an update aimed at trustees. So your trustees will love it, but anyone who's not a trustee will be thinking, why have you sent this to me? And does that mean that you don't really appreciate necessarily, what my needs are as a client? So email marketing, segmentation, and you can make sure that you're sending them really relevant information. And I suppose the point here in terms of that relevant information is, always ask that question, why are you emailing them? What's in it for them? So when they open this email, think about what they're going to get out of it by reading it. Now, obviously, you're their valued advisor. You're going to be wanting to give them something that's going to benefit them, and you're going to give them something that is going to, once they spent that 3 to 10 minutes reading that email, they're going to think, great, that was worth my while. I'm happy to get emails from my advisor because they always give me value, they always give me benefit. And obviously, in the longer term, that means that your emails are going to be read and engaged with more over time. And I know that can be a problem. If you're just sort of spraying and praying your emails, you will find that your email list over time disengages. So some basic tips in designing your emails. Look, it's a little bit like your website. Sometimes, think of an email in terms of the points you want to communicate, and then divide that email into sections and kind of like 1 point per section. And also, don't be afraid of either having some white space or some imagery in there to not only break it up, but also make it, I suppose, easier to read visually. Also think in terms of your impactful subject line. And so if you've gotten your email into someone's inbox, that's not an open email. You still need to get them to open it. So if you think about some of the gossip websites like the Daily Mail, and they've got the clickbait titles like who's divorcing or which soccer player is having the affair, that's kind of intriguing, that's engaging. And that's done on purpose because it makes you want to open that news story. And it's the same thing with your subject line. Be as compelling, as intriguing as you can be. So they open the email, and then you've got the whole email to actually tell them what it is that you want to communicate with them. Secondly, if you can, when you're making your email points, try and keep it short and easily readable. Again, people have so many emails these days, they might be overloaded with information. So be brief, and of course be personal as well. So whether they're a client and they know you well, or a prospect, you are a person, you're not a robot, and at some point you're going to be speaking to them in person or on the phone. So let your personality come through, your tone of voice. So if you're not particularly formal, don't make it too formal. Or if you are quite formal, again, just make it sure that it's authentic to who you are. And the last thing to do is to make sure you have a really clear call to action. So what do you want them to do at the end of this email? Is it to email you back? Is it to go to your website? Is it to sign up for an event? If you don't tell them what you want them to do and you leave them guessing, you've actually wasted that opportunity. And then you're either going to have to send them another email, or you're going to have to follow up with a phone call, which is a bit of a waste of their time and a waste of your time. So calls to action, make it clear and make it easy for what you want to achieve.